There's a new study out, and I use the term study loosely, which says that the rich are more likely to lie, cheat, and steal. But upon some analysis, I want to be very upfront because I know otherwise I'll get emails saying this is a fraudulent study or something. This is not a scientific study. I am admitting that. It's an interesting idea, but it doesn't strike me as a scientific study. I'll tell you about it. According to the study, those in the upper class, as defined by the study, were more likely to break the law while driving, take candy from children, lie during negotiations, or cheat to increase their odds of winning a prize, and endorse unethical behavior at work, according to researchers at the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, okay? If you look at all the data together, the experiments suggest at least some wealthier people perceive greed as positive and beneficial, probably as the result of education, personal independence, etc. That's not really a surprise. I mean, I think that part we know.
Right.
The tests only measure minor infractions, though, right? So, for example, if you look at upper-class subjects are more likely to cheat. Apparently, after 5 random rolls of a computerized die for a chance to win an online gift certificate, 3 times as many upper-class players reported totals higher than 12, even though, unbeknownst to them, you couldn't get higher than 12. The game was actually rigged so that you couldn't. In other words, the dies would potentially add up to more than 12, but the computer had been set so that it would never happen.
Right.
The players didn't know this. Upper class, 3 times as likely to say, I got more than 12, yeah. Is that a big deal to you? Do you think that's indicative of anything deep-seated here?
Deep-seated, probably not, no.
The other thing is when participants were manipulated into thinking of themselves as belonging to a higher class than they did, they began to behave unethically, even if in reality they were actually poorer. In one test, subjects were asked to compare themselves with people at the top or the bottom of the social scale, Donald Trump versus a homeless person, for example. And then they were permitted to take candies from a jar ostensibly meant for children in a group, for a group of children that are near the lab. And the subjects whose role-playing put them in a higher class took more candy from the children, so to speak.
This makes perfect sense to me. I mean, perhaps this is why we see high-level politicians getting into so much trouble with financial problems or
it's the they can't touch me
attitude.
attitude.
Right, exactly. It's the I deserve this, they can't touch me type of mentality.
So Lewis isn't surprised by the results, but Natan, your reaction to the test? I mean, it is not a scientific study in the traditional sense.
Well, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that it is true that wealthier people tend to be less ethical in general. I mean, it could be that the reason why they become rich is because they're unethical to begin with. I'm just throwing that out there.
I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it could also be that when you become rich, you become unethical.
Right.
Maybe to remain rich. I mean, it's pretty ambiguous as to what the reasoning is.
The reality is it doesn't say anything about any particular wealthy person and how they obtain that wealth, and certainly millions and millions and millions of people very wealthy with no real unethical behavior in their background. But it is just an interesting study for the point of discussion.
Yeah, definitely. It sparks a few things.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what?
Ideas.
This segment, for example.
Ideas, this segment, right.
Yeah. Anything else, though?
No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's really not that much. It's kind of sad. I wish it would spark more discussion.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll read an actual scientific study at some point in the future dealing with this.
I would like to see that.
Okay.